Welcome to the 34 podcast. This is a podcast about sports news and opinions about events currently taking place in the sports world. It mainly will focus on basketball, baseball, and football that could go into the college level. This may differ into other sports from time to time, but it will mostly stay with basketball, football, and baseball. This podcast idea is something I've had for a while and I've wanted to do, and I hope you enjoy. With me as my co-host is Raptor. He will be providing his opinion on the certain topics that we talk about.
Hello, everybody.
In NFL news, the Kansas City Chiefs have been making moves even in a pandemic. For those who don't know, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have agreed to a deal that, with incentives, can be worth up to $507 million, making it the richest sports contract at $45 million a year. With this new deal, it creates an increasing dilemma for other teams that have expiring QB deals, one of the most notable being that of the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. So, is Dak worth anywhere near top QB dollars?
See, for me, when it comes to Dak Prescott, you think like he is a great QB. Don't get me wrong. He throws in there with the best
He's
best of
definitely top 10.
he's definitely no question about that. I'm looking at the stats here when it comes to the pay the in the NFL, and for me, I would honestly put him above Ben Roethlisberger at the 68 for the third spot. For me, Ben was crazy back in the day. Like when I say that, I mean it. But now I wouldn't say he's washed up, but he's definitely not where he was. I feel like Dak deserves way more than Ben. I think Dak could be number three. But other than that, I would probably cap cap him out at three. What do you think about that?
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't myself. I'd put him in between Rodgers and Goff because they both make 335, which is, I think, he's a top five, but I don't know. I mean, the Steelers really just overpaid for Roethlisberger because he was their franchise QB.
For the
But
longest time.
does that make it any better that the Cowboys overpaid Dak? I mean, realistically, I think they could just get somebody like a Ryan Tannehill and just run the ball more through Ezekiel Elliott. They don't even need a top QB. It actually takes away from Zeke's game.
Well, we
They
saw Ryan last year. He took the Titans to like very deep in the playoffs, which nobody really expected. And it seems like with Dak, he can't get over the hump once he gets to that game to get into the playoffs. He can't. For some reason, I feel like it's the coaching. For
Well, yeah,
sure,
it's the coaching a lot. I mean, I'm trying to think of who the Titans coach is right now, but he was uh, I don't remember the name, but he was an expatriate. He knew what he was doing, and he put Tannehill in a good situation because he didn't have to throw all the time
he
because
had
they had
backfield. Yeah,
he had the backfield. I forget who is it. I forget.
Henry.
Yeah, he had Henry. He had Henry just running the ball down everybody's neck. So they were overplaying that so much that it gave
Let
Tannehill so much
go.
time to throw that just made his job easy.
Yeah,
And
it's a coaching issue with the Cowboys. Like in Dak, also in some case of it, he doesn't have the supporting cast. Other than Zeke, I really don't think he has what he needs to
oh,
be.
he's got Cooper though. I mean, he's got Cooper.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Yeah, that's true.
I
But
know
when you
what you're
say
saying though.
past
I
that,
do.
what else does he have? Let's be honest here.
He doesn't have. Yeah, they need to bring him in somebody else. He needs. I think what makes Mahomes so great is he's got some guy like Kelsey to throw to all the time,
Uh,
where Dak doesn't have.
Kittle,
He's got
uh,
Witten, but Witten's about 5 years past where he could be anything of a top tight end. I mean, he's still probably top 20, maybe,
he's
but
yeah.
he should have probably. I mean, I don't see him winning a championship, so he should have just stayed in the press box because all he's doing is, I guess, he's getting a check, but other than that, I don't see anything happening with this Cowboys
He's
team.
not doing much for that team, to be honest.
This Cowboys team. Now, maybe the new coach will turn it around, but I really don't see this Cowboys team anywhere near winning a championship if they keep continuing on the level that they're at. Because, I mean, if you can't outplay the Eagles with the way they look, you're not looking too hot.
No, look, the Eagles had their years, right? And now it's
Yeah.
kind of they're back to, like, no disrespect to Eagles fans or anything like that, but they kind of dropped back down to what the Eagles used to be. Not a great team, but not a horrible team.
Well, I mean, they wasted a draft pick on the QB out of Oklahoma. I forget. Jalen Hurts. They wasted a draft pick on Hurts because they're trying to. I don't know what they're thinking there because they've got Wentz locked up on 32 mil a year for the next 4 plus, and then they bring in a young QB. How much that really? I mean, for him, that doesn't make you want to play very much if they're already trying to replace you.
Yeah, I know. Like, what's like? There's not going to be a push if you know in the background there's already people trying to replace you. Like, why would you want to? Like, why would you want to play if you know that the coaching staff, well, not just the coaching staff, the upper front office and stuff are looking at options to get rid of you.
Well, the same thing goes for Rodgers too. I bet he is really, really mad that they drafted that QB out of Oregon. Or it was Utah. I forget his name, but
Yeah, me too.
it's
I
just
can't.
that's fine. But he's still Rodgers has still got at least 3 years in the league, which I mean,
He's not a bad QB. He's still
nah,
good.
we're getting off track. But I mean, myself speaking of Rodgers, I think Rodgers is still a better QB than Dak Prescott because he's
He's
got that arm.
definitely.
He's put the Lions, who unfortunately I'm a fan of, despite never winning anything for the last 3 generations, but. He put them down with that a couple years ago. He threw that Hail Mary at the buzzer and
Crushed their
dropped us down. I'd take Rodgers over Dak Prescott any day, just because
yeah,
I knew
for
what he
sure.
is. I know what he can do. I mean, even this year, Rodgers took that team, which really he only had one or two offensive options to throw to. He took them to I think they're an NFC championship. Or maybe they're AFC because they play the Lions. Yeah, I'm not sure,
He
but he took them to
took
the
a seat.
conference championship. And I mean, look at Dak can't even get off the ground, and he's got. I mean, Aaron Rodgers don't even have a Cooper to throw to. That's how bad it is.
All he has is, who does he even have? I'm being
I don't
honest.
even know who he has. That's how crazy it is, and he made it to the conference championships.
I don't know. And then Dak, he can never get all over the hump. Like, for the game that always gets them in, he can never do it. So I don't
I
know.
think I think they were like 500. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I think the Cowboys were 500 against above 500 teams,
They
and
were.
they torched teams that suck. But that's not going to get you. That's not going to do you any good. I think the Browns
You
did
have to
almost the
be
same
like
thing.
the Chiefs and those types of teams to be really
The
taken
Chiefs.
seriously.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I mean, but
that's
excuse me
why
for the
Mahomes
Chiefs.
got the big bucks because he could be out there and have he could have one person to throw to that was
And he would
elite.
still do his
And he could
thing.
make it. He could have a tight end. He could just throw to Kelsey all game and still get like 3 or 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's why he's the best. That's why he's the MVP, and that's why I don't. That's why Dak's as good as he is. I mean, I don't even. For me, he just barely hits 5 on what he should get paid. I think he should be paid right at about 33.
He does. Yeah, he to me he's good, but he doesn't deserve what he's getting. To be honest with you,
No,
he hasn't proven to me that he can do it.
if he doesn't, I I don't know if I think this is an extension because I'm not sure if it is or not, but if it's an extension, I would not sign him until he's a free agent because I want to see what he does with Mike McCarthy as a new head coach. And if
Because if
that
Mike
doesn't work
McCarthy
out, I
brings
would
the team
find.
where it was
Go ahead.
it was the coaching. If
Well,
Mike McCarthy can bring them deeper, like, I know it's the players, but if he can do that, then it's a direct correlation to the way the team was ran. I'm gonna be honest.
If he makes the playoffs, he gets paid. That's how I feel. If he doesn't make the playoffs with a new
He doesn't
coach,
pay.
I would build around Ezekiel Elliott and pay
Try to
for.
get
I'd
somebody
pay
else.
for a decent QB. I'd bring. I'd bring Winston in or somebody like that you could get cheap. Maybe a Cam Newton. Nah,
Or a
because
rock.
if you get Cam Newton, it's gonna be too much run. But I would build around Ezekiel Elliott, get him a damn good line, and have that. I would just start the run game. I'd follow the Titans offense because I like Henry,
They
but
made it work. They made it.
Cowboys have a bigger salary cap that they can move than the Titans do. So they got more room to get more pieces around Zeke. I mean, it's nice to have a QB and a running back, but it's like Embiid and Simmons in NBA. It's not always going to work.
And that's been proven in most leagues. Two guys can't do it all.
In other news, Pacers guard Oladipo is sitting out the NBA restart, but it may not be for the reasons you think. Oladipo, who has led the Pacers to a 7-game series in 2018 against the LeBron-led Cavs, has had a rough couple of seasons since then. In 2 seasons, he's played only 50 games, and in the last stint, he went out with a quad injury, which is a rare injury for the NBA. It's usually only in soccer players. This has kept him out for 9 months. Although he did come back in mid-January, he has now chosen to sit out. Uh, but what makes this story even weird is that he's going to join the team and practice 5v5. To many sports fans, this makes little to no sense, as 5v5 is the last thing that most players do before coming back into the rotation. It is on to On my way home today, I heard on SiriusXM NBA radio that Indiana star writer Jay Michael said that Oladipo back in January came back on his own time schedule, barely consulting with the coaches. He also spoke significantly with him that he did not want to leave the Pacers and that he was an Indiana kid. And later that week, somebody in his inner circle was quoted as saying that he wanted to leave. So is it time for the Pacers to bet on Indiana's kid, or is it time to move on?
I'm gonna say it's time to move on because, in my opinion, you can't be a professional athlete and one disrespect the whole upper office by not telling them anything, and like you said, he's returning to 5v5, which is the last hurdle, which obviously means he's healthy enough, and he's just choosing to go for the pay, not for the enjoyment of the game. And I feel like the Pacers need to trade him and try to get maybe some draft picks for him.
Yeah,
It's kind
I think
of
you
like
need
the
a
Kyrie
veteran
thing.
with it too. I mean,
They're
he's not
shining on
totally out of the way, but I
like
mean,
they're shining a bad light. Like him and Kyrie, it's not like the same thing, but Kyrie's kind of in his own mind too.
well, I
So
get what you're saying there because when Kyrie left the Cavs, they were both contenders. Like Oladipo not playing for Indiana, they're contenders when he's there if he's healthy.
he makes the team better. But if he's gonna be
Yeah,
like this,
the Oladipo and Sabonis is one of the best pick and rolls in the league, but if he's gonna act like this, maybe it's time for Brogdon and Sabonis to be the pick and roll. I mean,
yeah,
they
you
won
can't have
37 games this season without him.
yeah, you can't have a guy who's just gonna disrespect the upper office or just think he's his own boss.
Well, and it's not like you're gonna have him for long anyway. He's already stated, well, he hasn't stated, but he's kind of hiding, but he's not hiding that he wants to leave and go to Miami for some reason. I guess he has a house down there already and he practices in the summer, but it just doesn't seem right that he's trying to. He has this Indiana's kid persona that he sells stuff with that persona. And he's trying to cash in on it now before he leaves because he knows he's going to make a lot of people mad with this move.
But does he care? I really don't think he does.
I don't think his main focus is to get a 5-year max deal because he knows he's 29. He's got one more big contract. And who knows what he's going to be when he comes back. Since that season where he took them to 7 games against LeBron, he's averaged 15 points and 42% shooting, which is good, but it's not exactly elite. And
But
he's
like
also he's
games are last
6'3". He's undersized or 6'3", 6'4", which the normal shooting guard is 6'5" plus, which that doesn't help. Is that really who
Yeah,
Indiana wants to put their all their chips on?
no, if I was them, I would give away Vic, and I would try
Well,
to
when,
get, I would try to get a few. I wouldn't say first rounders because I'm not sure he's worth that
well, if you can get a
anymore.
late first rounder from a team that's trying to just compete and needs one more piece, you might be able to
It'd be
pull
worth it.
that.
Like a team like, honestly, maybe the Pistons.
You're killing me. You're killing me with that one. I don't like that one.
You wouldn't want Victor on your team just for like
No, because he's just gonna dip. We need Detroit needs something long term. They don't need anything short term. But I know what you're saying. A
a
team like that. I think
team
the
that
only team that I
like
see is dumb enough to trade for Oladipo would be James Dolan and his Knicks because they don't know how to run an
well,
organization. They
let's be
haven't for
honest,
20
the Knicks
years. I mean,
want anybody that can get their hands on.
yeah, they're gonna
And
go for Chris Paul, even though I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but it's not like you're getting Chris Paul from New Orleans.
you're not getting a old Chris Paul. You're getting a not. He's not bad, but he's not franchise player anymore. I'll tell you that much.
No, I don't. Just, I mean, Oladipo is really good, and he's got that chemistry with Sabonis, but the what I was listening to today with Jay Michael, he said that Brogdon's already taken over as the leader in the locker room, and
But you,
that was
what does
Oladipo's
the team?
big thing.
What does the team think about this now? If it's obviously known by them.
Well, I
What
know.
what do they think
Well,
about
Nate
this whole?
McMillan just came out publicly saying that Oladipo didn't tell him. He found out through social media, and he's not happy about that. And Nate McMillan played. He's been to a finals with '96 Sonics. He's back. He was back in the old days when if you were healthy, you played. He's not gonna like some guy sitting out when he can play, and the teammates aren't gonna like it either because there's no way they want to go. They want to go and battle with somebody out there on the court if they know they're just gonna be flaky like that.
And obviously Vic only wants the money.
Well, yeah, and
Obviously, he's
he
not in it for the game. Obviously,
realistically he's had one good season. That 2017-18 season when he got traded from the Thunder was his best season, and since then he's only played 50 games, and he hasn't. His numbers are down, like I said, 15 and 42, 15 out of 42%, and that
it's
just
not a bad percentage,
it's
but just
not
when
bad,
it's
but
not
it's not max. It's not max. That's far from max money. I was talking with my dad today, and I said they should bring in Lance. I think Lance could put up 15 on 42 for you, and he'd be like five
he
mil a year.
better. I'm not gonna lie.
Bring Lance back to that's my fix right there. You bring Lance Stevenson back and you get what you can out of Oladipo. He had already talked about it
As
before the
a
stop.
D, Lance can clamp if he really needs to.
He
He can
was
play defense.
he's dropping 30 and I think he had a couple 40s over in China. I mean, it's China, but if he can get half of that production in the NBA, I'd take him. And he
He
hasn't
has
been
played
known
them.
to be
Lance
injured at all, very much.
like like when my Raptors played them, it was like the final 2 minutes, and Lance went off and put our dreams in the coffin.
Yeah, Lance was good. His worst decision he made was going to Charlotte, but it is what it is. Players go. I mean, he went for the money then. I don't blame him because looking back now, he hasn't. He's not going to get anywhere near what he got on that
Yeah, but I'm
contract.
sure his upper management knew about his move, unlike Victor.
Well, and also that was the team that had put the LeBron Heat to 7 games 2 years in a row, and that was before Hibbert decided to just. I don't know. That was something mental. I don't know what happened to
Yeah,
Hibbert,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that team was good enough that they possibly could have beat that Heat team. And that Heat team, as much as I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, that was a great team. That was a very good team.
Yeah, you can't.
I can't discount it. It was
Yeah,
good. It was good. But the Oladipo's time in Indiana is slowly going away because
I think it's
he's
over. It
kid
just hasn't been announced yet. I really think it's done.
yeah, he's just control. He wants too much control himself. I mean, I get the
He
player
can't control his
empowerment movement.
office.
I get the player empowerment movement, but at least have enough respect to tell your coach and your GM what you're gonna do
What your
sometimes.
plan is?
The the only thing I heard with that, and the J. Michael said it, is that they may have tried to talk him out of and try to talk him into playing, but still, if it's his true what he wanted to do, they couldn't really tell him to get on the floor.
No,
It's
you
you
can't force
can't
a
do
player to
that.
do what
You
he doesn't
can't.
want to
But
do.
it just seems a little bit two-faced for me that he's going straight to the media with everything. It just you can't trust a guy like
And
that,
he's lying to
unfortunately.
the media.
He's
I
like,
heard that.
yeah, he'll say one thing one day, one thing another. It doesn't add up, and it doesn't look good for him. It makes
And like we said,
him sitting
apparently he
out.
said he wanted to stay, and now he has no intentions of staying.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Him sitting out was to get money, but now it looks worse for him in the long run. It really does.
he wasn't there for the team. Let's be
He
honest.
wasn't
It
there for
doesn't.
the Pat Riley is a workaholic. He likes players at work, and I don't know if this will influence him not wanting Oladipo. I don't know, but
I mean, a workhorse doesn't ignore his upper staff or play on his own
no,
schedule. Like
Jimmy Butler would have a fit with something like this. Jimmy Butler
we
would.
know Jimmy doesn't like when
Jimmy
people
didn't
don't.
like it when Cat would sit.
Yeah,
He didn't like it. Jimmy ain't gonna like Oladipo doing this. And they're not gonna like it. The cards are in the Pacers' hands right now, and if they wait to free agency hoping to sign him, it's just they're gonna get nothing out of him. He's gonna leave. It's almost again. I'm gonna quote this J. Michael several times, but he firmly believes that Oladipo's gone. He believes he's done. Believes he'll be one
I
more
think the
year and
Pacers
he's done.
believe he's done.
The
I
Pacers,
really do.
I mean, they might not believe it because he's going to play. He still wants to look good. It's going to be a contract year. But the Pacers have to realize you might get one good year out of him, but that's it. He's done. You have to get him out of here.
He's kind of, I wouldn't say he's on the D Rose area, but he's injury prone as
Well,
all whatever now.
Indiana doesn't have time to wait and see how he is. They need to trade him in the offseason before anybody sees whether he's back or if he's worse, because right now his stock is immediately high. It's a medium high. I think you get a high second rounder, maybe a low first rounder for him, and a
And that's
veteran.
even if I think his stock dropped after this.
This is a bad look for him. I will say that.
Because you'll take the skills, like I know, like he's not a bad player.
He's
He's
a
very
skilled
talented.
player, and
He's
for an
outside.
undersized guard, he's elite when he's on his
But
top.
you
But you
know,
haven't
as a
seen that.
team, you want him. You're bringing in somebody who, in their mind, obviously thinks they're on their own schedule.
Yeah,
So
I
that's a risk for the team who wants him. I really think it is, or tries for
I
him
think I well the Lakers don't have any picks right now, but I think the Lakers would pull on him if they had
as
more
a bench
picks
piece.
as a bench playmaker, which they need, and we'll talk about that more later. But somebody like the Lakers who needs a bench playmaker could really use him.
They could, they could honestly replace Avery Bradley with Vic
Yeah, I mean Bradley's on a
off the bench.
1 year deal anyway. But the problem is Indiana's not going to get the draft capital out of the Lakers that they
Yeah,
want.
they don't. Yeah, they
The
won't get
Lakers sold that down the river in the AD trade and
They give everything
yeah, the AD trade.
to
That's
the
right. I
Pelts
was
for
thinking of
AD.
the Clippers trade with all the picks, but yeah, it's the Pelicans trade.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is a bad look for Oladipo. With the coronavirus pandemic, ESPN has had a lack of entertainment to show on their network. This has brought about the need for some form of sports content on their station. One of which has been over the last week, TBT, the basketball tournament, has taken center stage. It is played in bracket form, and in this year, it is specific to the bubble city of Columbus, Ohio, and an empty nationwide arena. The 2014 bracket is made up of teams of ex-pros, overseas players, G League players, and college alum. To keep the bubble secure, they went to the extremes of making that if one single player on a team tested positive for the virus, it was immediately replaced by one of the several waiting teams. This action so far has brought about 3 team changes. The TBT is a college-like basketball game. It has very much of a college feel. It is a welcome feeling with March Madness being canceled. The refs follow much of college rules, which allows for hand checking, which was outlawed in the NBA in the early 90s, making the game very much more physical. The game also differs in the fact that the ending is played where at the 4 minute mark in the fourth quarter, the time clock is turned completely off, and the team that leads a score is set based on eight more points than what they have. That is the target score, and whatever the other team has, they have to make up to where the team that is winning is at, and they have to beat them to the target score in order to win.
which you
The
might recognize was part of the NBA All Star game this year.
Well, we want to talk about that because the NBA didn't give this any credit. This guy, it is the Elam ending, but this guy's been doing it. He had come up with this idea 3 to 4 years before the NBA had done it, and the NBA gave no credit. But that's beside the point.
Yes, yes.
Uh, the TBT has had action. It started off at 28 teams, and it is down to it's getting close to the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals start tomorrow. There's been several upsets in the tournament. There's been Sideline Cancer's on a Cinderella run. They beat two teams already. They've just been torching through the competition. It was a surprise, very much a surprise. They had to come back in one game, but they are led by I forget his name. I'm gonna look it up. But they are led by forget they're led by Marcus Keene. Marcus Keene in the first game against Team Hines had 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in a win by 2 points. Just 2 points. Other action is the Purdue alum Mena Mackey. Their star player Justin Dermott had 33 points and 6 3-pointers and 2 steals, that led them to a 6-point win over Heartfire. And heard that, which is a team made up of Marshall alums, in their first game beat the Peoria All-Stars, sorry for my mispronunciation, by 15 points, led by John Elmore with nearly a triple-double with 9 points, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds. If the games are quite enjoyable. I mean, even today, the top-seeded Carmen's Crew, which is Ohio State's alums, just got taken out by the Illinois alum House of Pain. That many of you may remember Aaron Kraft from back at Ohio State. I know most Michigan people from State and Michigan remember him because he would torch everybody. But they just got taken out today by House of Pain, and that was a 1 on a 16th seed. And House of Pain, the 16th seed, took that one.
Wow.
You've also there was it's very fun to watch because it's like the NBA. In my opinion, they blow the whistle too much. In this league, when somebody goes up, they let them fight through each other and kind of get more acrobatic finishes rather than and ones. I mean, they're not just letting that happen every time, but it's more interesting sometimes. If somebody goes straight up, they don't always call a foul, which is
Yeah, the
nice.
refs in the NBA don't let the game flow.
It really allows for a quicker game because there's less stops. It allows for a more fundamental basketball
More
fans as
action as a
myself.
whole.
Yeah, it allows me as a fundamental basketball fan to enjoy the game with less stopping and just constant trips to the line. It's a very nice game. It's got players like uh, past players of MSU. Marcus Ward had a nice 16 point and 9 rebound game, and it was just he was just beasting down on the post because the post guys, they have a place in here because it's more like college basketball, which it makes it interesting. You get to see some guys that just they can do different things in this than they can in the NBA. There's there's a few games that I think are fairly interesting to watch. I think players that have yet to play is Big Three and NBA seven-time NBA All-Star and Big Three champion Joe Johnson in the two-seed overseas elite, who have won 4 championships out of the 6 years that this league has been a thing, have yet to play. They play tomorrow at 4 o'clock. They are stacked. They have most of the players that they had when they won 4 in a row, and they added Joe Johnson. And anybody who watched the Big Three, they added Frank Nitty Sessions, who is he does really well in the Big Three. They added that. That's my favorite to win, and that is my game to watch. Um, they are 24. Yeah, I think they're 24-1 in the tournament all time, and the only loss they suffered was last year's loss. So they are back with vengeance, and they added 2 very good players. If you get a chance, you should tune in because there's not much on anyway. So it's actually good basketball. Though it has seemed very questionable after the postponement of the NBA in early March, the NBA season seems to be ramping up with a bubble in Orlando. It is about to welcome several teams, and there are already several teams that are there. I know I just saw that the Pelicans and the
The Suns.
Trailblazers the Suns has showed up. Uh, Teams are starting to get in the bubble, and it's a welcome sight for any basketball fans. But with it coming back, and with all this 4 months of layoff, it brings many questions to the table on how the season will commence. Are there any top seeds that are still favorites? Did that change? Are there any dark horses? Are there
I
who will be the ace seeds?
I
So
think I think a lot of stuff is going to be determined in these next however many weeks or months. I feel like the obvious favorite is probably the Bucks, but we have seen that in the finals, or not even the finals, just in the conference championships, is that Giannis can't do it all per se.
well, he's
I think
stoppable. He's stoppable.
you put
You
a
know what
wall
you
up
do.
in
It's the
front.
wall. It's the wall. That's what it's called. But if he can keep shooting 40% from outside, it's a little bit harder to guard him. But I get what you're saying.
He's gained the shot. He really
He
has. I mean,
has.
he's
It went from like 20% the one in I think December last season up to 40 towards the end of the season.
he's been working. He
He
has
has
been
been
working.
working. He's a worker.
And then you got other teams that are favorites, like the obvious, probably the Lakers because of LeBron and AD.
Well, yeah,
That
definitely. I'm not. I mean, as much I said, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but if I've ever seen a year where he has a very good chance that I even have a question about it, I think this is one of his best years to win one.
but I think, and they're not a dark horse in any way. I really think the team that if anybody was to out them, there's two actually. It'd be the Clippers or it would be Dame and the Blazers.
I think
Honest,
they if it, I think Dame, if they can steal the eighth seed from Memphis, I think they pose the biggest threat to LeBron's championship run in the early rounds because Dame, the game after, well, rest in peace, Kobe, the first game back in Staples after Kobe passed away, Dame dropped 50 on LeBron. And LeBron, I'm not saying he should have been focused that game. He should have been the one that wanted to drop 50, especially being in a Lakers uniform. First game back in Staples, he should have been ready to go. But no, the real star of it was California native, Oakland born Dame Lillard was ready to go. He dropped 50 on him, and they
he ended
won.
up
They
dropping
won.
50 for like 4 straight games
He
too.
dropped. He had that. Yeah, he had that run. He was. Oh my gosh, he was on fire. He had like a couple. He had at least one 60-point game in there, and he had like a 55. He was just torching
I
for
think he had a
about 6 to 8.
61 point game.
Yeah, he
If
was
I'm
on
correct.
fire. Uh, I don't I don't know how he didn't get a moments in 2K, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I think Dame and the Blazers with Nurkic back and Zach Collins back, and they got Melo and they've got CJ. That team gives the biggest threat to LeBron. And what else doesn't help LeBron and the Lakers is that they have no Avery Bradley now. Avery Bradley was their bench playmaker, which they've needed. They still needed that. Even with Bradley there, where they were playing him in the starting lineup sometimes, and they have no bench scoring. When LeBron goes out, AD doesn't play make. He has nobody to give it to him,
He
and
can't do it.
it gets sticky. It gets sticky. But Kuz has to step up. Kuz and Rondo are going to be their big off the bench X factors. Well, who knows? Maybe JR and Waiters. They added JR and Waiters. I forgot about that for a second. We'll have to see how that pans out. But if they can get it rolling, this is one of LeBron's best chances.
I think. I mean, like, who's gonna guard Dame? Who can guard Dame?
Bradley was the guy. Bradley was the guy. You're not LeBron. He's not bad at defense, but he's not elite.
He's also not as fast as Dame.
LeBron on Dame is not the best matchup for the Lakers. They're gonna have to put KCP on him probably, and that's well, his best days were in Detroit. We'll say that. Uh,
Definitely, we're gonna say that because we know he didn't get off to a
I
good start at all
yeah, he had that little stretch
this
there where
season.
he was on Shaqtin' a Fool about every week, but we
He
won't we
was
won't talk about him too much.
he was pulling a JaVale, yeah.
It's pulling JaVale. JaVale's gonna be big for them too at center.
JaVale is underrated in my opinion.
JaVale is very underrated as a Warriors fan. I've seen him. I know what he can do, and I was very disappointed when his last year on contract when they didn't play him very much. They should have at least, if they were going to run that small ball lineup, gave him 10, 12 off the bench, and they were only giving him. They were either not playing him or giving him like 5 to 6, which I don't think was
When
right.
we know JaVale can ball, we really
JaVale
know.
has. I don't. He went from Shaqtin' a Fool to elite rim protector, in my opinion.
And I've seen in a couple of vids that I've been watching throughout the last few months, JaVale has developed a little bit of a shot.
A little bit of a three, and I think his handles have improved a little bit. He is getting
It's a little
better.
bit scary because he's a monster inside. We've seen it.
Yeah. My favorite to win for me, it's been since the start of the season. I've been saying it all year. I think it's the Clippers. The Clippers, if you look at it defensively, the makeup, it's the best defensive team that I've seen since my '04 through '08 Pistons. You've got You've got a lot of defense. You've got two elite defenders. That you've got Kawhi and you've got Paul George, which are elite defenders. Like the Pistons had Rip and they had Tayshaun. The scoring's not the same, but I'm just talking specifically on the defense. They have Montrezl Harrell. That's your Ben Wallace right there. You got Pat Beverly. I
Isaiah
mean,
Thomas is who's your Isaiah.
well, no, not Isaiah. I'm talking about '04. I'm talking about '04. But
Oh, okay.
I mean, doesn't if anything, they've got more players at positions that can play defense than that '04 team had because as much as I like Chauncey was their offense guy. Chauncey was not their defense guy. Chauncey was in no way could not play defense. He was elite, but Pat Beverly, that's where he makes his money, his defense. That's what Pat Beverly's going to do. I mean,
He gets those
he
stops.
yeah, I mean, you saw what he did in the second game with the Lakers against LeBron. He was, what is he, 6'3" on a 6'8" guy, and he gets the block. It's
He
clean
shut him
block.
down.
Clean block. I mean, you need guys like that. That's your glue guys. And then you got in my opinion, the best bench duo in the league with Williams and Harrell. That thing is, ooh, there's some nights last year, not so much this year because there's more offensive scores. But last year they had a couple games where they both dropped 30 off the bench.
And we know Lou Will's like I could be wrong, but he's like 5 or 6 times 6 man of the year.
He reminds me of AI mixed with Klay Thompson. That's what he reminds me of.
Which is a scary combo.
Yeah, but he just, man, that Clippers team is going to be hard to beat. That's going to be, I don't know how it's going to pan out. But that Lakers versus Clippers, if they manage to meet in the playoffs, that's going to be That's going to be if it don't go to 7, I'll be really, really surprised.
I say 6. if
You
it doesn't
think
go to
so?
7.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We got to see how there's no home court at the bubble.
There's
That's the
really
thing.
not.
So it's gonna be whoever can lock in and be ready to go
Is going to be the.
is gonna be it. That's what it's gonna go to. I
See, for me,
okay, go.
my favorite. It's a little bit. I wouldn't say it's an underdog, but
I think I know where you're going with this.
I'm going to take the Trailblazers.
Oh, you surprised me. I thought you were gonna take Toronto over there for a second.
No, I'm going to take the Trailblazers because you.
Okay, you cut off for a second.
We know Dame can do Dame things. Okay. Well, we all know now that Clippers, the Trailblazers are now gonna have Nurkic back, right? And we
Yeah,
know what
Nurkic is a monster on
you
defense.
got. Dame can do what Dame does. We know
Dame,
this.
we already talked about this already a little
And then
bit.
we got CJ, who's insane. He can create his own shot. He can hit with the
Yeah,
best of
he
them.
can, some days he does better than Dame does. Some games.
I really think that Trailblazers team is gonna surprise a lot of people.
That's it. That this all depends on if they can make a run. If they can make it in, Trailblazers have a legit chance. I mean, with this, there being no home court advantage, you could see a lot more upsets. One that scares me, and why I didn't say that's why I said if the Clippers and the Lakers make it, is because the Clippers, where it stands right now, face the Mavericks first round, and I have a lot of faith in Luka beyond this year, but who knows with the rest what he could do this year? And
That Luka
Porzingis
and
is a
KP
lot.
combo, I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
Porzingis is lethal, and when Luka was out, he was back to dropping 30. So you know he's got it in him. I
Yeah,
wonder for them. A big thing for them is if Powell's back because they lost Powell about mid-January from where he hurt his leg. I don't know if he's back or not. I think they could still get it done. They got Boban, they got Maxi Kleba. I think Kleba's actually in the rotation higher than Boban, but they can get
yeah.
it done. They've also got a pretty good backup point guard that's coming up, DeLon Wright. He had a triple double a couple times this year. I think
Who
it was
used to
when
play for
Luca was
my
out.
Raptors, and I think he's better now than he was then. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the system sometimes. Rick Carlisle's a very good coach, and that's another thing that helps that team too. Rick Carlisle's already got one under the belt.
Man knows what he's doing. He really
Yeah.
knows how to.
This this could come down a lot to coaching. It really could. If the coaches can get their players focused, they got to be focused. They got to know, oh, it feels like a summer
Now,
league game. I'm not going to take this seriously. It's not going to work. You have to be ready to go. You have to have that inner push. You have to have it
and that all
inside
starts now,
you.
not then. Now,
Any guys that are going to struggle are guys that feed off the crowd. Those are the guys that are going to have to figure something out. They're going to have to, I don't know, like
that's
Jordan
what I
used to
said
come
about
up with
Dame.
something in his head and figure it out. I don't know if they got to do something like that,
See, that's what
but
I'm scared about with Dame though, because does he feed off the crowd?
I don't know if he does or not.
Because he does seem to really. Well, I mean, he's an NBA player. He has skill, no matter what. But I mean, I don't know. Judging off of his celebration after he hit that three on PG, it looks like he feeds off the camera and the fans.
Well, that was home court too. I don't know that much about him on
Total
the
home
road,
court
but I mean, you got to think
contest.
he was getting booed in Staples that game after rest in peace Kobe had died. Uh, that first game back in Staples, he was feasting, and you know they're booing at him. Maybe he feeds off the booze. I don't know, but he
Well,
still
home court
drops.
advantage, I guess you could say it doesn't exist, but in some way, the Orlando Magic have it.
I don't know, man.
Not really. I mean,
Well, if you think that, you think that. I mean,
they are
it's
a
gonna
short.
be up in the air at this point. They got a good team. I mean,
But
well, they have a pretty good team. I'm not gonna say it's anywhere. Depends on how folks place. But this is it depends. I think Orlando is either they're a year out or they're where they're gonna be because I don't know how Vucevic and Fournier are gonna age. But if they can age well, this might work for a while. But
You have AG,
if
who's
it you
AG.
got AG and folks are what you're gonna have to run through a lot in the future. But right now, if Fournier can strike it at 40% and Vooch can keep that three, who knows?
Okay, but that and then this leads me to my next question: who's your dark horse or underdog
In the East, I got Miami.
in the West? What do you got there?
Well, West, Dame or I already talked about Dame or Dallas would be big for me
See,
if
for
they
my West underdog, I'm gonna go with the Rockets.
the right. I don't think D'Antoni can get it done with no big. I think a guy like AD, if they meet the Lakers,
They're done.
they better be shooting. They better be shooting. They can't pull
But
what they
we
did on
know that
Golden
the
State.
Rockets can
They
beat
can't
it.
pull what they did on Golden State because then they had Capella. You're going to be getting less rebounds because PJ Tucker, that poor man needs to leave and go somewhere else because they're putting him through the waterworks down there. They're
But
putting
we
him.
know though. But we know the Rockets can shoot the fucking ball.
Their X factor is how good Robert Covington, if they face somebody like the Lakers, can clamp up LeBron. Covington is a big piece for them. That was a good trade. I think if they kept Capella and brought in Covington, I think they would be in a better place than they are right now.
You're on very good track right there. I really believe that. And then your East underdog is the Heat, and what makes you think that?
The Heat, they're the most. They move the ball almost like the 72 Knicks. They just pass so much. The person who actually gets the most shots is Kendrick Nunn, the rookie, with 14 a game. And now this break has helped the Heat because Hero was out for a long time, and that brings him back, and he was shooting 40%. You got Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson shot 10 or 11 threes the one game. You got shooters. You got, and they're not horrible on defense. Hero can play defense. Butler can
They
play
have Jimmy
defense.
buckets. Don't forget about that.
Adebayo just does everything. I mean, that'll be
Don't forget about big
interesting.
old Jimmy buckets
Well,
over
I
there.
said Jimmy buckets, but I mean, I think Adebayo is going to be huge for them, depending on
He's a difference maker.
how his. I don't know if they're going to do a little bit of switch where Jimmy's going to guard Giannis on the perimeter, and then once he hits inside, you're going to slip Bam in there, or if you're just going to straight play Bam on it.
And for the East, like that type of thing, I think if there's a team to beat the Bucks, it's gonna be the Heat, no matter what. Like no question. If there's a team that's gonna beat them, it's gonna be the Heat.
I think a team that if somehow they pull it out of nowhere, if Philly gets rolling, people need to be scared. Because Simmons and Embiid, if they can figure that out,
Scary.
that is Magic and Kareem in this league right now. Because nobody can. If Embiid, the problem is Embiid needs to be in the post because Embiid can put 40 up a game in the post. But the problem is Simmons needs to drive into the post, so it's a struggle. And then they bring Embiid out, and Embiid tries to shoot, and he shoots 33, which is okay, but it's not going to win all the time.
It's
Eh,
not consistent enough. It's not bad,
It's
but it's
not.
not like
It's not good. The biggest Philly would be top right now if they had not drafted Folks and drafted Tatum.
very true.
Tatum, that was a big mess up. That is, you would have had a 2012-2011 Thunder team
That
right
might
there.
have been a championship team right there.
I think it
Sitting in
would
there
be if not. It would have been if not this year, the next year. And
for sure.
speaking about Tatum, Boston's nowhere near out of it either. Boston is still very much a competitor because
JT and Brown.
Tatum wants to prove that he is a top player, and if he really balls out right now, he could move up in player in people's eyes of where he is on the standings.
And like it's not all about the money, but he can get paid if he shows what he can do, man.
Well, and this is Kimba wants to win too. Kimba's ready to go. And you got a dog like Smart that you can put on your perimeter, and
And he's gonna guard up.
Brown is in no way he's no way a bad player. Brown's a very good player, but he's got to work on his consistency yet. But when he's on, forget it. Um, the only problem I see with them is a weak center position with Cantor or Tice. It's okay. it does okay, but those guys are role player centers. They need a better center. They had Horford, but I mean it's okay. I think I don't know as Taco um starts to
Develops.
get better. I would like, yeah, develops. As Taco develops, I'd like to see how that'll work. But I don't know if it'll work permanently, but I think that could really help them in the long run.
For me, like my underdog is the East is probably going to be the Heat too. To be honest,
You
like
got the
it's the only
Heat.
team that can really stop the Bucks or the Raptors.
Yeah,
Both of those teams are going to need somebody to really stop them, and full transparency here, the Heat can do it.
I mean,
No issues if
yeah,
they really put their mind to it. Huh.
yeah, the Heat could do it. I think a real battle, depending on how the seeding matches up and where they meet. I think Toronto against Miami could be a very good series
I
because
think that goes six, and the Heat win.
Nick
I'm not going to lie to
Nurse
you.
Nick Nurse's defense surprised me. I didn't know who the heck he was coming in. I really didn't.
I really didn't either.
I didn't
He was
know who he
my
was. I
dream
thought that they
coach.
pulled him from some G League team somewhere, some overseas team. I was like, who is this? They got rid of Coach of the Year Casey, which is on my Pistons now. Which for Nurse, but now looking back, Nurse led them to a finals, and he's defensive, which fit Kawhi perfectly. And he's got a ring under his belt first season, which was heavily helped by Kawhi, but I'm not gonna discount him as a coach either. I mean, Casey couldn't get it done, so they pulled the trigger quicker than most would, and it
And it
worked out
wasn't
for him.
just Kawhi. Like you had the bench monster in Van Vliet, who just decided to drop
Oh,
23 a game.
Yeah, he guarded Steph so much. He guarded him. He clamped him up. And then when Clay went out, Van Fleet just shut him down. Lowry had that nice game 7. I knew it was done. But
It was a really good series, and I think I love my Raptors and all, but I think if they come up against the Heat, I'm not gonna lie, the Heat I think can I think
the
the Heat
Heat
would
are
win in
just
six
the Heat are such a good team
all
that
around.
all around, defensively and offensive on both sides of the ball, that they're gonna do well. They're a well built team, and the bench has got guys like Myers Leonard, Dragic, who was underrated as a sixth man of the year, questionable, and they're just they got a good chance. Speaking of sixth man of the year, let's talk about the Thunder. Chris Paul brought that team that I thought was going to be in the dumps all season. I thought they were going to get a really nice draft pick. I really did. And then, it,
I wouldn't say they would have been top two, but they might. Nah, I don't even know because I mean, like, if they really wanted to, I'm not gonna lie to you, Nug. I really think that until the Warriors ended up having their issues, they might have been looking at Wiseman or LaMelo. I'm not gonna lie to you.
yeah, I think, yeah, they're definitely top 5 at the least with that
Yeah,
roster. I thought it was garbage. I really did. I didn't think Chris Paul had it in him. I really didn't. But
and Chris
he,
Paul kind of bring
it,
back not old Chris Paul, but he bring back some killer
well,
instincts,
I
and he
mean, they were
really
focused.
well.
They were letting him do what he wanted with the ball. That's where he does well.
That's a big
The
thing. You give
pro
him the ball and you let him go to work.
In Houston, that's why he did so good in New Orleans when he was young. In Houston, he was trying to share with Harden, and it worked. It got him to conference finals. And if he hadn't been hurt, they might have beat Golden State that year in 18. But it also didn't help them missing 28 three balls. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah,
But yeah, but they also, what makes the Thunder so good is they've got Schroeder off the bench and they've got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who are both in the Sixth Man of the Year award race.
conversation. Yeah, they're both in
Yeah,
the conversation for six man of
and
the. Yeah,
you've got your core center with Adams, who has done well. I mean, I personally don't see them making it past second round, but if they make it to the second round, that's already better than what Westbrook has done
it's
for them for the past few years. So
and it's
it's a
already
win.
more respectable than anybody would one expect this year, and two, like you just said,
Uh,
Russell Westbrook couldn't even bring them that far. So if
They
Chris
got
Paul can do it,
they got rid of a stagnant all-star in Russell Westbrook, which unfortunately he was the face of the Thunder, but they couldn't get anything done. They traded away somebody who didn't want to be there, and Paul George, and they got Gallinari and Gildas Alexander, and they also built for the future by taking I don't know how many picks from the Clippers in the future. They could set themselves up again to possibly um,
Be a threat again.
be a threat. They could possibly, depending on where those draft picks land, get them another Harden or a Durant.
Type of, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Because Sam Presti is one of the best drafting GMs. That whoever is in the Thunder's front office, that really is the one who does the picks. The scouts
He
on that
knows.
are really good because they had a team. They messed it up, but they had a team.
It's not even. Yeah. They really did have a team until they decided to.
That was 2 mil that they gave Tabo Cephalosha to put Arn away, but that's a story for another day.
Which is
The
pretty, yeah.
yeah, you got anybody else you think is a dark horse?
Probably the Mavericks.
Well, yeah, I
Honestly,
think we talked about them quite a bit, though. I think
we did, but
I've already
like,
made
who
my
else is
point on
really?
them. It just depends on if Luka's got to
I,
perform we got to see playoff Luka for the first time.
I would like to say the Pels, but like,
I like the Pels, but when they played LeBron first round, when they played LeBron during the regular season, they got beat by 20. So I'm like, as much as I like seeing Zion, I'll take my 8 games, and that'll be it for me because I
if
don't.
they're
That
focused,
team is not ready.
if they're focused, the Grizz with Jaw and Jaren.
They, I don't see it in 7 though. The only team that I see that's in the running for the seeds down there that could take out the Lakers is is Portland with Dame and a healthy Trailblazers team. The only one that I mean, Sacramento did pretty good against them, but I don't trust Sacramento in 7 games. I really don't. That's
No,
not. I'm not even going to
Sacramento's
talk
not
about
scary.
Sacramento because they're stagnant, and I don't know if they can take it to another notch.
See, I don't know, like, there's really not another underdog per se that has a real, like, maybe give the Pels another year or two. I think they could be something big.
Yeah,
I honestly,
the Pels' big thing is signing Brandon Ingram, but if they can keep that core together and they're gonna have an okay draft pick,
and the
they'll
scary part
probably
is
get
that
somewhere
once
around the
Zion gets
middle.
even more comfortable, oh,
Yeah, I mean
great.
he's out there and he seems calm out there, which is surprising for a person who's my age, 20 years old. And
And like you
they're
saw when he was working out for 8 hours a day from
well,
6
yeah, they
a.m. to
just said
6 p.m.
he had 20 pounds of muscle. He's 285. Well, I mean, he's gonna lose. He's probably maybe put on like 10 pounds. He added 20 pounds of muscle, lost some fat, and added some muscle. But he's gonna be around 300 for a while. That's insane for 6'6" frame. I mean, he's not Shaq, but he's the closest thing you're gonna get to Shaq at that position.
I'm reading up here that Zion gained 8 pounds of muscle in a week.
8 in a week.
Yes.
That he is. Some people are born with a special set of skills, and he's born with the athleticism and just the man. Just his the way he's built is you don't see that every day. Even LeBron is a very close comparison to him, but he even differs in some ways from LeBron. I mean, as much as LeBron can finish inside, he's become lately more of a shooter. And Zion he wants to put it down on somebody every night. And
Multiple times.
his defensive intensity that Zion puts out is very nice too.
Well, we saw it in the summer league last year when he ripped the ball out of
Ripped
his
the
hand.
ball out of Knox and I don't even like it could have been called a foul, but I mean he was a pretty clean grab. It probably was a jump ball, but I mean it looks good. It's summer league.
I mean, he ripped it out and he went up with authority.
Yeah, I mean his just his bounce. Like on dunks it's one step, but even on rebounds. On rebounds, he out jumped Gobert the one game to
His
grab a
head's
board.
above the damn backboard. Some of them.
Yeah,
He gets up.
I've never. I mean, I know I'm young. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I wasn't there for when LeBron was in high school, so I don't know. It was probably somewhat close to the same, but I just think Zion differs in several categories.
You all. It's hard to say that too because you like LeBron is athletic is all you know what,
Well,
but with Zion he's 285, right? You said
yeah,
of
he's
mostly muscle, and he's chugging and he's jumping like something else
he's like Barkley that's in the gym more. That's
with a better skill set, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
he's the Barkley. I never got to see Barkley play in high school too, but I can assume their games are very close. But Zion, if he keeps this effort up in the gym, is gonna have a hell of a lot better career than Barkley because
Barkley ever
Barkley.
had, yeah.
I've heard Barkley would eat two large pizzas by himself. That is
Bro,
Zion. If Zion starts doing that, he might as well forget it. I don't know how Barkley lasted that long doing that, but yeah, yeah,
I think it caught up to Barkley.
it did catch up to Barkley in the end, but he managed to get 9, 10 years out of it doing that,
But
which
he
is
made it
surprising.
work when it did.
Um, Now another thing is with the Nets missing so many players, does that open the door for the Wizards to pop in there? What do you think?
Yes, I mean the Nets barely have 95. I mean not 95%, but
I
like
mean, they got
very good
Harris
chunk.
and they got the rim protector. What's his name? Allen, Jared Allen.
And they just lost Prince,
They got Levert too.
but they lost Prince is not there, and that's a big piece.
Yeah, Prince is not there. You got no
Durant
Kyrie
obviously.
Durant. You already didn't have Durant, so you knew that.
Kyrie doesn't feel like he
Kyrie,
should
no
play.
Wilson Chandler, no DeAndre Jordan.
I think that team is. I wouldn't say they're out, but I don't think they're
They're
anything that they
okay,
would have been.
but they kind of
Levert
it's
and
like
Harris can't
it's like
carry that
Detroit with
team.
D Rose and Blake and Christian Wood and kind of they've got good guys, but they're not enough to lead a
There's
team.
not
The
enough.
only one Levert might surprise me, but that's the only one I have any inclination could do anything about it.
I think Levert had a 50
He
point
had a
game,
50,
didn't he?
but it's been one. It's one game.
It's no
So
Dame 4 in a row type stuff. We know
Dame
that.
had six. Dame had 6 plus. I don't know how many it was, but I know it was at least six. That
With a
was
60 in there. That's
yeah.
just.
So, but Wizards are down. Beal, Wall, and Bertans or Bertans. That's how you pronounce it.
But
But
they
they
still
still have
have
they have it.
Bonga,
They have Ish Smith. Well, Bonga's hit or miss, but you got Ish
Hashimura.
Smith. You got Hashimura. I mean, in my opinion, that's all they need to be the Nets. But they also have more people. They have others on that. They got Wagner. I remember him from Michigan. All Michigan fans would
Wagner
remember
can shoot the
Wagner.
ball too.
Wagner could
Better
shoot.
than he
I
did
was
last.
very much glad he got out of L.A. because they were not going to play him. Thomas Bryant is their elite center. That's a big guy for them. He's a shot blocker. I remember I had him for fantasy. He was getting like 2.5 blocks a game, giving me them fantasy points. I was happy with him, and then he got hurt, but he should be well rested now.
He is a good center. I don't watch much Wizards play, but he can hold it down. He really can.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how this pans out. I think this is where I'm going to call it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it to the end, thank you again. This has been the first installment of the 34 podcast. I'd like to say I'll do it weekly, but I'm not going to commit to anything yet. But don't be surprised if there isn't one up next week. Thank you for watching.